Prime Minister still stay on to lead the Liberal Party into the next election, given that you just lost one of the safest seats in the entire country last night?
Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we've got Vasi ripping Karina Gould, Liberal Karina Gould. She's back. Unfortunately, she's back because we don't want her to be back, but she gets ripped by Vasi. We've also got some humiliating clips of Leslie Church, as well as Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland giving defeat speeches, which is always a good thing to see. So let's jump into this. Leslie Church is introduced at her party HQ as the next MP. And she tells the crowd, we're feeling great. This post didn't age well. You lost. You shouldn't have celebrated too early. Yeah, this is why you never celebrate early. You wait for the results. This is just embarrassing now. It's a really embarrassing clip. Trauma nurse posted, oops. Some sunglasses. Oh, wow, this is embarrassing. Oh, dear. I bet she would have made a fine communist. These people. If it weren't for those pesky capitalists. Well, that might have been a little premature, yeah. So next up here, I've got two different clips from Vasi. She was interviewed, which is unusual because normally she's the one doing interviews. And then the next one, she's grilling Karina Gould.
Hey, so what went wrong for the Liberals in this by-election? As we said, it was a Liberal stronghold for, 31 years, Vasi.
And not just any 31 years. If you think back to 2011, Todd, when the Liberals were basically wiped off the earth by Stephen Harper's Conservatives, they were reduced to just 34 seats under Michael Ignatieff. One of those seats they held was this riding. This is downtown Toronto, one of the most safe areas for the Liberals in any election, no matter what their position, in the grander political scheme is. The fact that this went blue, I think, is reflective of a couple of things on the national scale, but also kind of at a more targeted level in the riding. I'll start with the latter. I would say the Jewish population, which canvassers told me over the weekend was probably greater than the 12 to 15% we had heard about demographically, closer to 20%. They are not happy with the way the federal government, and in particular the Prime Minister, has responded to issues around anti-Semitism since October the 7th. There's also
So let's just touch on that real briefly. So I was watching the polls all the way up until 1:45 in the morning Pacific time, which is when they finally dropped the final ballots in there, and that's when it flipped. It was all the way down to about 1.5%. Leslie Church was on top, and when those final ballots went in, it just flipped. There was the last three polling boxes, and those must have just been all filled to the gills with conservative votes coming from the Jewish community. Can you blame the Jewish community when you have stuff like this? I'm not going to play this video because I always get in trouble when I play these videos. These are the guys that are responsible for securing and making things safe around here. But if I click on, you can see there, right? There's a whole bunch of them. If we go a little bit earlier here, there's a whole bunch of them. There's ones here in the orange vests, the yellow vests. And as you can see, the full helmets, like, this is getting gnarly. Look how many there are here. There must be at least 50 of these police officers here, all because of what's going on here. So obviously the Jewish community doesn't feel safe in Canada. They're defacing our national monuments. Come on, guys, step up, arrest them.
A classic sort of wealthy population in this area. We're talking about a riding that includes, for example, the wealthy neighborhood of Forest Hill. They normally go Liberal, but there is a lot of backlash, according to reporters that we had in the riding over the weekend, to the capital gains changes that you were just talking about that come into effect today, and their impact on that population and also their kids, for example.
Yeah, so you've got wealthy people there. They don't like capital gains. We shouldn't be completely going after wealthy people. It doesn't incentivize Canadians to want to push for more. This is not good. There's other ways to bring in money that doesn't involve just taxing the hell out of people.
Hey, one last question. We know that a lot of the backroom conversations within the Liberal Party thus far have been just that, backroom about Trudeau and his future. Do you think things are going to start to spill out now into the open?
In any other situation, I would say yes. And even in this one, my gut tells me yes, just by virtue of how many caucus members, particularly in the GTA and Southwest Ontario, are voicing their opinions on this behind the scenes. What's been unique about the Liberals led by Justin Trudeau Trudeau is a real reticence to do that, right? Other than a few aberrations like SNC, for example, most members of the Liberal caucus, they'll say things behind the scenes, but it's not like the Conservatives. They don't eat their own. In particular, they're not prepared to eat Justin Trudeau, who, took them from the doldrums of 2011 to the glory of 2015. So he does have a lot of loyalty generated through that. But there's no question. I can't find a single backbencher who says he should stay on. Many of them today are saying he needs to go this week. So if they're prepared to say that behind the scenes, you've got to think if things continue at this rate throughout the summer, they're going to start saying things more publicly. There will be more people who eventually speak out. I don't think it'll be a groundswell, though. I'm not sure this turns into a mutiny. I think the most likely scenario is the Prime Minister, once and for all sees the writing on the wall and makes the call himself.
Trudeau's not going anywhere. He's too much of a narcissist. It's not happening. Speaking of the narcissist himself, here he is with his defeat speech. So Son of a Bench here says, listen closely to his words. He's hinting at stepping down and resigning. I'll believe it when I see it.
And before I wrap up, I would like to say a few words about last night's by-election. First, I want to thank all the volunteers and candidates for putting their name forward and participating in this important democratic exercise, including our tremendous Liberal candidate, Leslie Church, who ran a strong and positive campaign. I also want to congratulate Don Stewart on his victory in this tightly fought race. But most of all, I want to thank the people of Toronto St. Paul's for exercising your right to vote and making your voice heard. Now, this was obviously not the result we wanted, but I want to be clear that I hear people's concerns and frustrations. These are not easy times, and it's clear that I and my entire Liberal team have much more work to do to deliver tangible, real progress that Canadians across the country can see and feel. We'll never stop working and fighting to make sure that people have what they need to get through these tough times. My focus is on your success, and that's where it's going to stay.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. He opened that with saying these are tough times. He just loves to blame everything else. Oh, there's some sort of thing going on in New Zealand. It must be that. Oh, there's something going on in Switzerland. Oh, that's caused all these problems. The war here, Ukraine, supply chain, China. He's not stepping down. He wants the free travel for the summer and maybe a free pass to the Olympics too. Yeah, that's something he would actually consider. He's like, if I hang around, I get all that free travel. This schmuck. Captain Schmuck. He says we need more help from him. No thanks. Exactly. Go away, Trudeau. Trudeauing, lie, deflect, and blame. Chrystia Freeland's response to this is also quite interesting.
Deputy Prime Minister, can the Prime Minister still stay on to lead the Liberal Party into the next election, given that you just lost one of the safest seats in the entire country last night?
Yes, he certainly can.
Can you explain why? Because everybody we're hearing from behind the scenes believes that the result last night means catastrophic losses across the country. If you cannot win in Toronto under Justin Trudeau, why should anybody believe you can win anywhere else under him?
Our government is focused on working hard for Canada and Canadians and on delivering results for Canada and Canadians. That is what the Prime Minister is focused on. That is what we are all focused on. The Prime Minister is committed to leading us into the next election, and he has our support.
The Prime Minister is only focused on breaking our country, breaking it with terrible immigration policy, breaking it with wasteful spending that is breaking the backs of Canadians with ungodly inflation, food prices, gas prices, home heating prices, taxes among taxes among taxes. The most interesting part of this is not what she said, but what she did. If we look here, when she gets asked a question,
why should anybody believe you can win anywhere else under him?
Right there. That is the body language of someone who is absolutely defeated. A deep swallow like that, this is a demoralized Chrystia Freeland. That's also somebody taking a deep breath. She did it actually twice here. Once at the beginning, she took a deep breath, and then right at that moment there when she gets asked that question right there. A deep breath like that right before you go to speak is a self-soothing. You're trying to lower your heart rate because you don't like the question, you don't like the situation, you don't like what's going on, and that is what's going on with her. It is really reassuring to see a defeated Chrystia Freeland here. But I mean, they're not going to do anything. They still have more money to throw around. They've got so many scandals. I bet that's what it really is. They got the Randy scandal, the Guilbeault scandal, this scandal, that scandal. They're like trading cards for the Liberals now. Ooh, who's got the newest scandal? Like they need more time to hide their scandals, clean up their scandals, do whatever with their scandals. I think they just want to buy more time with that. But I think really they wanted to keep these scandals, all this crap going on for years and years, because then they can keep cashing in and get really rich. And now they know that's coming to an end and they've got to swallow that. So I wonder if they're worried about potential jail time. The Conservatives get in there and crack that nut open and like, ooh, look at all this festering maggots in here. Like, something stinks and it's coming from the Liberal offices of Parliament. One final thing about her body language, right at the end, she says, he has our support. But look what she does with her head. It's not a nod yes, it's a nod no. This is subtle body language that she probably doesn't even know she's doing.
And he has our support.
Right there, you see it. Right there. That's a shaking no. I don't know if it's Chrystia Freeland that doesn't believe in Trudeau. I think those two are a package deal with whatever they're up to regarding all these eco-green slush funds and $8 billion funds, Ukraine funds. But I think that's more likely like the rest of the Liberals don't support them anymore. And then she's telegraphing that to us. Freeland having a Kim Campbell moment here. Freeland says a lot without saying nothing at all. Yeah, exactly. Freeland doesn't believe what she's saying. Yeah, that's exactly what that body language is. That's a canned response. She took a moment to set herself, and then she delivered her canned garbage response. Shaking her head no at the end, he has our support. Short version, the WF hasn't provided her with any further instructions. Next up, we got Captain Pink Tie here, Liberal Ryan Turnbull. He's asked a similar question. His body language says the same thing.
Can Justin Trudeau stay on as the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada?
Can he or will he?
So right away there, you saw his eyes are exploring right there. He's like, whoop. That's somebody looking for an answer because they don't know. They don't want to give their honest opinion.
Can he or will he?
In the wake of last night's, does he still have the confidence of the government or of the party?
Well, that's a good question. I think it's too early to tell that exactly, but I think that most of us support his leadership, and we always have. I think the Prime Minister has made it clear that when
he's looking down a lot. That's also somebody who's, it's not a genuine answer here.
When his time comes and he decides to walk away from the leadership, he will do so. But I don't think that now, I couldn't pronounce on whether he can lead the party in the future or not. I mean, I feel like he's a great leader. I feel like last night's by-election loss was a disappointment. So coming out of that, I mean, I think you're asking me to answer a question that I think is a little bit early. I think people are reflecting on, what that result means.
Canned answer. He's just trying to cover his butt here. This fella abused the farm organizations who came with the ag community over the carbon tax, told them how to run their farms, and claimed he knew better ways to dry grain. His arrogance when he returns to a private environmental economics consultant will follow him over food prices. If this helps the Liberal Party's assessment of confidence, I am a past Liberal Party member. I have not renewed my membership and will not. I've since become a donor and a member of the Conservative Party. So next up, we got this interview with Vasi where she grills Karina Gould. This is a bit of a hot seat to step back in. I don't know if she's fully back. She should be, though. I believe her maternity leave was up until July.
Minister, should the Prime Minister resign as leader of your party?
No.
Why not?
Well, look, I mean, yes, yesterday was definitely a tough loss for us as Liberals. I mean, we certainly didn't expect to lose in Toronto St. Paul's. It was a message for us, certainly, that we need to do better, that we need to listen more closely to what the voters, not just in Toronto St. Paul's, but right across the country are telling us. But no, I don't think it means that the Prime Minister needs to resign.
What are Canadians telling you? That you guys are terrible? And we've been saying this for months?
And I'll ask you about that message in a moment. But what we heard from people who were canvassing the riding is very specifically their criticism of the Prime Minister himself, that they might even agree with some of the policies that your government has put forward, but that they are uncomfortable with the Prime Minister in his position or as leader of your party. Why is that not something that prompts a second look at his leadership?
Well, so first of all, I mean, the policies and the programs that we've put forward are policies and programs that wouldn't have happened had he not been prime minister. A lot of this is his leadership in pushing these things forward. I obviously have a personal affection for childcare, having been the Minister of Families, but again, that wouldn't have happened had Justin Trudeau not been prime minister. So it's hard to disentangle, I think, his role as leader of the party from what we've actually been able to achieve for Canadians. The other thing that I would say is that, we understand and I think have been seeing, Canadians rightfully and understandably frustrated, particularly when it comes to inflation and the high cost of, kind of everything. And we've been responding to what those issues are. But I think what the message from Toronto St. Paul's was in particular for us was that, we need to do a better job of not just listening, but also showing Canadians that we are hearing them. I think that's a really important thing too.
Karina Gould is a smile liar. When she gets asked questions she doesn't like, she masks her emotions with a little cheeky, you can see she's got really pointy corners of her lips there. She's doing these weird smile as she's answering the question. She's just lying through her teeth. She's trying to mask her emotions.
I think that just to circle back to the point about the prime minister, and his, sort of the way in which, in your view, he's so correlated with everything that your government has put on the table. Think about daycare for a second. Ultimately, what you said to Canadians is if you elect Conservatives, that will be removed as an option for you, that the programs we've put in place will be removed. If the prime minister, everything okay?
Sorry, my battery died.
That's okay. Go for it. That's okay. That's TV.
Yeah.
If the prime minister's leadership of your party ultimately costs you the way it did in this by-election, it won't really matter what kind of programs then that you have put. His leadership ultimately, even if it did bring in these programs, might jeopardize them in the future. Why are you and your fellow caucus members unwilling to confront that?
Well, a Conservative government ultimately is what would jeopardize these programs. We know for a fact that they have said that they would undo things like dental care or child care.
But then wouldn't losing the election do that too?
But other things that Canadians care about a lot as well. I think when it comes to a by-election, it's an opportunity for Canadians to send a government a message. What we have to do is be humble about it, I think, and listen to that message. There's going to be lots of conversations that happen over the course of this summer amongst caucus about how we reflect on the results from yesterday. It's a bit early to say, what we're going to do because we just got the results early this morning. But it's going to be important for caucus members to get out, talk to their communities, talk to their constituents, hear what they have to say, and then for us to come back and, really think about what our plan is moving forward. As well as I do that, the election.
Look at Vassie's face. She's just not buying this crap. She's not agreeing with a word that Karina is saying.
Is 16 months away, and that's a lifetime in politics. Many different things can happen. And so we need to regroup, really make sure that we heard that message, and, find the way to reconnect with Canadians over the next 16 months.
Is the message, though, given the riding that it took place in and the stronghold that your party has had, even in the worst of times in 2011 for the Liberals, is the message not a deafening one that you're on the wrong track?
Well, it's certainly an important one. And we didn't expect, if I'm being honest, to not hold that seat. We certainly thought we would.
That's nice. You're being honest for once.
Even if it was a tight race, and it was a tight race. The difference was, just over 500 votes. So that's a very tight race. But what it means is that, we've got to pay attention to what those 500 folks were talking about.
Considering the last one was 49% Liberal, 26% Conservative, yeah, it's a tight race, but you guys should have been way higher. You should have had thousands and thousands and thousands more votes.
I take this very seriously, and there's going to be, lots of thinking and reflecting that's going to happen over the next, weeks and months.
Does that mean, in particular, when it comes to addressing the affordability crisis or cost of living crisis, that your government will chart a different path, or more largely on the economy? I take your point. It was close. It was 500 votes, but it's a 24-point swing from the last election. And by the way, Carolyn Bennett won on 9 of them in a row.
Well, I think we still have to, parse through the results. There's going to be lots of analysis that happens, and
analysis. You guys going to show up with a couple of big duffel bags full of votes? Just 501. Oh, these ones didn't get counted, guys. Just put these in there.
Lots of thinking and lots of reflecting to absorb and understand, what went wrong specifically in Toronto, St. Paul's, but also, how we can learn those lessons across Toronto, across GTA, across Ontario, and across Canada.
The Deputy Prime Minister yesterday, in advance of the votes being cast, said essentially that the Canadians in that riding had a choice between the Liberals and the alternative, which she characterized as cold, cruel, and small. Why would your government label opponents of it like that?
Well, I'm not going to speak for the Deputy Prime Minister, but, what I can say is that I think there is a very stark difference between the vision that our government is putting forward for Canada and that of the Conservatives. And I think our government has been very clear and, have won 3 elections on being ambitious and proud of Canada and, wanting to do, new programs and support Canadians and really deliver for them. And we have, good results to show for it. Whereas, Mr. Poilievre and the Conservatives are putting forward a vision that is less ambitious. It's one that is less generous when it comes to supporting Canadians, and one that I don't think has the same kind of,
oh, please, just stop lying. We all know what you guys are doing. It's not rocket science here.
Support for the future of our country. So there are 2 different visions that are being...
Vassie's not buying that. She smells a stinky pile of crap over here coming out of your mouth.
Put forward that Canadians can choose from and will choose from in the upcoming election. I think it's really important that, we continue to demonstrate to Canadians that, their well-being economically, socially, physically, is our priority, and that we are there to continue to serve them. I think we continue to have big, bold ideas that are going to deliver for Canadians, but part of our job is to make sure that we are hearing what those priorities are for Canadians and reflecting that as a government. And so
you've had 9 years to deliver results, and you've delivered the worst results in Canadian history. The housing prices, food prices, gas prices, everything prices. How delusional are these narcissists, really?
Are we listening, engaging, and communicating in a way that is responding to the needs of Canadians? Maybe it's some of those things, maybe it's not all of those things, but it's certainly a moment for us as Liberals, as Liberal members of Parliament, as Liberal government, to reflect and think about how we move forward and where and what we need to change.
Can you understand how Canadians might find that disingenuous? Yesterday, your government is calling people who supported somebody else cold, cruel, and small. And today you want to engage and listen to them. Do you understand how that might fall on deaf ears?
So, I have always been very clear about the fact that we need to engage with all Canadians. I mean, the fact of the matter is, and you can go back to 2015 when the Prime Minister was very clear that, just because you vote for somebody else doesn't mean that you don't have the best interests of Canada in mind. I mean,
then why is your party calling them cold, cruel, and small?
But this is where I think it's important for us to reflect on some of those lessons and to make sure that, we're being true to who we are as Liberals, which I really believe is
insulting Canadians, taking our money, and giving us nothing in return.
engaging and listening to Canadians, seeing Canadians in a positive light. That may mean that they vote for other folks. That might they vote for us. But at the end of the day, and one of the things that I've always admired about the Prime Minister is his trust in Canadians. And I have tremendous trust in Canadians to make, the best decision. And, at the end of the day, would I have liked to see a different result in Toronto, St. Paul's? Absolutely. Absolutely, I would have preferred for that to remain Liberal.
So just to be clear, you don't believe people who voted for the Conservatives in this election are cold, cruel, or small?
No, I do not believe that. I believe that Canadians make decisions based on, the best information that they have. And I genuinely believe that every Canadian is making a decision because they believe that they're doing it in the best interests of Canada. They just have a different idea of how to get there.
That cold, cruel, and small comment is going to be nail in the coffin for Chrystia Freeland. She's calling upwards of 80% of the Canadian population, people who don't support the Liberals, cold, cruel, and small. Their party is done. Even Boo is disturbed by those comments. Next up, we got a clip here of Tommy Robinson, who was arrested in Canada, and then he was released, and now he's not allowed he has to give in his passport. He has to stay in the Calgary region from Red Deer or lower, basically because I think he had a speech in Edmonton. They don't want him speaking about free speech. If you're not familiar with this guy, here's his Wikipedia. Tommy Robinson, activist, 41 years old. He's a British anti-Islam campaigner, one of the UK's most prominent far-right activists. He was a political advisor to the former UK Independence Party. He's been active in far-right politics for many years. He was a member of the British National Party. He was a joint vice chairman of the far-right British Freedom Movement. He co-founded the far-right British... So you're getting the sense here. Far-right, talking about freedom. The government didn't like that, so they arrested this guy. They took away his passport, and now he is stuck in Alberta, which is what we've got here. Posted on Justin Trudeau's Ego, it says, yesterday I was informed that Tommy Robinson was in Calgary to give speeches about freedom. Obviously, I had him arrested. This account is hilarious. Now he's out on bail thanks to a nonsense charge and not allowed to leave Calgary so that Canadians in other cities never hear his message.
How's your luck, eh? You've got 190. What about myself? What about myself?
What about yourself?
Absolutely insane. Get me a lawyer. Can you not tell me what I'm under arrest for?
UK guy comes over and randomly gets arrested after giving giving a speech or two. He said the F word, lock him up and throw away the key. This guy says he's got a gig in Europe in the July 27th, so obviously he won't be released until the 28th. But yeah, I thought I'd share this just because there's a whole bunch of people who sent me this story. All right, jumping over to my group here, let's see what memes we got today. Delete one thing from Earth that you think would make it better. So many choices. Is climate change A, fake, B, engineered, C, a means of control, or D, all of above? waiting to be liked by Canadians again. Yeah, it's not happening. PM says he hears our concerns and frustrations. If that's the case, then get the heck out of Canada and stay out. Yeah, I mean, he should just resign and go retire, leave the country, go to one of his whatever $1 million villas in some other country, Cayman Islands, wherever he's got all his money stashed, got all our money stashed, and just be done with it. Justin Trudeau showing his fellow Liberals on how he experiences things differently. I just give him the jazz hands. Daddy doesn't live here anymore. You just look at this guy. It's jag meat. Sophie, these are just... Yeah. This is going to turn into a meme of itself. This daddy doesn't live here anymore. Look, mommy, look at my work. That's how the budget balances themselves. Even these kids are skeptical about his lies. I will arm wrestle you for your capital gains. I'm putting my money on Granny. St. Paul by-election was a real referendum on Trudeau and his policies. Yeah, it's they're quaking in their boots, as that one lady said. They are definitely stressed out and worried. I think they thought they could turn this around somehow. It's like, no, you can't just keep lying to people and think you get support. That's not how it works. Deputy PM Chrystia Freeland shown here, pulling another answer out of the Liberal vault. That's where we're going to wrap up this episode. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought about Trudeau having to give a defeat speech. I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought they were going to squeak out that win. It's nice seeing him lose, and this is just going to keep happening. I think there's 3 more by-elections coming up. I suspect these are just going to all go blue, and he's going to have to give that speech over and over and over. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching the end of the video. Be sure to thumbs up and subscribe. Subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on the bell notification to get notified of all my videos. We'll keep fighting for freedom. We're getting closer. I'll see you guys in the next one.